The AFC North might be the toughest division in the NFL right now. The AFC North is a very interesting division in the NFL. First off, in my opinion, I think it's split into two parts. Two teams I think they can win the division and two teams that could potentially be wild card teams. So today I thought it would be a good idea to break down every team, what team has chances to go ahead and win the division and what team has a chance to go ahead and be a wild card spot. Before we get into it, make sure you drop a like and subscribe and let me know what your favorite team is in the AFC North. You might not be a fan of any team in the AFC North, but let me know what team, if you had to pick a team from the AFC North, what team would you go ahead and pick? And let's get into it, starting with the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals last year won the AFC North with a 12-4 record, and honestly, last year the Bengals were on fire. They started off very slow. It was very odd to see. A lot of people thought they were gonna have a Super Bowl hangover, and then after that little slow start, they just went on fire, winning games after games after games. Now this team is immaculate. It's amazing. In my opinion, they are a Super Bowl favorite. They should be up there. As a Raven fan, in my opinion, I have them over us to go ahead and win the division this year, but I do think it's going to be very close. I will get to that later, but I do have the Bengals over the Ravens currently. I think they do have the best chance. Their offense is amazing with Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Jamarr Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. That wide receiver trio is just amazing. And Joe Mixon, one of the most underrated running backs in the NFL, in my opinion, of course. And then, of course, Joe Burrow, in my opinion, he's the second best quarterback in the NFL currently, but that's just my opinion. I'll let y'all do with that as you guys will. And we have seen that the Bengals have really been the only team in the AFC that has been able to dethrone the Chiefs. I mean, they beat them in the regular season a few times, and now 2 years ago, they went ahead and beat them in the AFC Championship game. I know they had a rematch and the Chiefs went ahead and won this year, but we might have another AFC Championship rematch, and especially that game on New Year's is going to be very interesting to see. And honestly, in my opinion, something that doesn't get talked about enough with the Bengals is their defense. In my opinion, the Bengals have a super underrated defense. I mean, they got some guys, Sam Hubbard, DJ Reader, Trey Hendrickson, and they have a really nice cornerback. I don't know how to say his name. I'm gonna try to, but I'm probably gonna say it wrong. I think it's Awuzie. I probably said that wrong. I apologize, but I think you guys should know who I'm talking about. In my opinion, he's a super underrated corner. But the Bengals have a really nice team. In my opinion, if I had to break all four of these teams down like I'm going to, and I had to give the best chance, the best odds to go ahead and win the division and go win the Super Bowl, currently, in my opinion, it's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. As a Raven fan, I'm honestly kind of a little bit jealous of their offense a little bit. Jamarr Chase is probably my favorite wide receiver currently in the NFL. Absolutely love him. He has an amazing game. But definitely the Bengals are and should be a Super Bowl favorite. Maybe the second best team in the AFC just behind Kansas City. I guess you could go ahead and say that, but yeah, Cincinnati definitely number one. If I had to pick a team besides the Bengals to go ahead and win the division, I don't want to sound biased, but it's the Baltimore Ravens. This team looks amazing, and a lot of the problems they had last year are getting fixed. They went 10-7 last year. They were looking really good until Lamar Jackson, of course, went down with that knee injury, was out a whole bunch of games. But you know what? They did some good, I'm not gonna lie, this offseason. First off, re-signing Lamar to that mega contract was an amazing idea. I'm really happy that they went ahead and did that, because honestly, Lamar Jackson gives us the best chance to go ahead and win the Super Bowl. In my opinion, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL is really gonna help you go ahead and win a Super Bowl. This guy is truly amazing at quarterback. Now, the Ravens wide receiver room, it was evident that it was a problem last year, so the Ravens made some moves. They brought in a guy named Zay Flowers out of Boston College, and honestly, in training camp, he's looking really great, and he's looking like a very explosive receiver. Him and Lamar should be a deadly duo in the future. Also bringing in Odell Beckham Jr. I know he's coming off an ACL tear, but honestly, if Odell plays like the last time he played coming off an ACL tear, Odell can actually be a really good piece in this offense, and Lamar and Odell can be a very nice thing. Also, Bateman, we all know him. He did have a foot injury last year in games that he did play, though. He looked really nice. The running back room in Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins is going to be really nice this year. I'm a huge fan of J.K. Dobbins. When he's healthy, he looks like an absolute beast. And of course, we got Gus Edwards, another power back that is really great to have on your team. And don't let me forget about the second best tight end in the NFL, in my opinion, Mark Andrews. He's an absolute dog at that tight end position. Him and Lamar, very dangerous duo, in my opinion, the second best quarterback and tight end duo in the NFL. But this duo is really nice, and the Ravens offense is looking pretty good. And a part of that was bringing in the new offensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator that just won the national championship in Georgia, Mr. Todd. I think he's going to do a great job in Baltimore and really help this Ravens team get some wins and help this Ravens team get right back on track and do some great things on offense. And honestly, in my opinion, the Ravens defense is looking elite. Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, some all-around dogs at that linebacker position, Tyrus Bowser. There's some absolute dogs, and don't even get me started on the Ravens secondary with Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton. The only thing that does concern me is that cornerback 2 position. That is something I am kind of worried about with Yakasin at it currently. I wonder what throughout the season what they're going to do about it, but as of right now, honestly, the Ravens defense, besides that cornerback 2 position, is looking very, very good. I'm very excited for the Ravens this season. If you want a full breakdown on this whole Ravens team, you click the card up there. I made that video a few weeks back, but yes, I'm very excited for this Ravens team. Honestly, the Bengals and the Ravens should both be Super Bowl contenders, and I'm very, very excited. Like I said, this division is very tough, and the Ravens and Bengals, this is going to be a huge, huge rivalry and a very interesting rivalry. The rivalry should be very interesting. Very proud of what the Ravens did this offseason. Let's move on to the next team. The next up, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year, they went 9-8, and at times, they looked like they were dead in the water and looked like they were not coming back, and somehow, just somehow, they end the season with a 9-8 record. Honestly, in my opinion, that's just the Mike Tomlin effect. He's never had a losing season as forever as he's been the Pittsburgh Steelers coach, and somehow he just manages to pull it out last year. And honestly, it's amazing what Mike Tomlin can do. Now let's get into the team. The Steelers are really leaning on a Kenny Pickett breakout year this year, and honestly, I think it can happen. At times last year, Pickett looked really good, especially in that comeback win versus the Raiders versus that super cold game. Honestly, Pickett looked great coming back in that game. And honestly, just last year towards the end of the year, he looked pretty good, and I'm honestly excited to see what Kenny Pickett can truly do. I mean, the weapons around him are pretty good. I mean, Najee Harris is a great running back, and honestly, I know last year had a pretty much of a down year, but honestly, I think next year he's going to be able to come back fully healthy and be great. Now, the wide receiver room with Deontay Johnson, I think he'll come back next year and finally score a touchdown, hopefully. And George Pickens, I actually think Pickens and Pickett is going to be a dangerous duo in the NFL, and I honestly see George Pickens and Kenny Pickett both breaking out this year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also, they did add some guys to the O-line, which hopefully with this new revamped O-line, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be able to do a little bit more this year. And then, of course, we have the Steelers defense. TJ Watt, an absolute dog on defense, a defensive player of the year, one of the best defensive players in the NFL. And just besides TJ Watt, they got some other great guys. Guys like Alex Highsmith and Cameron Hayward are just some really great guys to have in that defense. And of course, Minkah Fitzpatrick, one of the best safeties in the NFL. They also drafted Joey Porter Jr., which I'm very excited to see. Huge fan of Joey Porter Jr. in college. I'm really excited to see what he can do. Definitely going into the next year, the Steelers are definitely one of the most underrated teams in the NFL. I'm going to go ahead as a Raven fan. I'm going to say they're a good team because you know what? Mike Tomlin, somehow, he always finds a way to get a winning record or a 500 record. He just knows what he's doing. He always finds a way. And just because of that, just because of the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, honestly, I can see them being a wild card team next year. And then lastly, we have the Cleveland Browns. They can also be a wild card team this year, but except this team's a little bit different from the other ones. This team depends on Deshaun Watson and Deshaun Watson breakout season this year. Basically, I shouldn't say a breakout season because we know Deshaun has the talent. I should say going back to his good old Houston form. Because I know I'm not the only one last year who saw them games for Watson where he honestly looked kind of rough. Last year, the Browns won 7-10. Like I said, they didn't have Deshaun Watson the whole year. Jacoby Brissett played some games, but some changes can happen in Cleveland if Deshaun Watson plays well. Honestly, if Watson plays well, this team and this offense can honestly elevate. He have a great run game in Nick Chubb. In my opinion, I think he's going to win the rushing record this year, and he's going to lead the NFL in rushing yards. And honestly, Watson has some nice wide receivers to work with. Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, and Donovan Peoples-Jones Jr. Honestly, a little nice wide receiver room for him, and honestly, it should be able to work for him well. And then, of course, on the defense, we should all know Myles Garrett. He's going to play at a high level. He's going to play at a great level. Really love Myles Garrett. They also got Denzel Ward, an absolute dog at corner. They also brought in Zadarius Smith. He's going to be a very interesting piece to watch. And this whole defense, just all of it, is going to be a very interesting thing to watch and see what they do, if they do well or if they do bad. And honestly, the Cleveland Browns could potentially be a wild card team this year if Watson goes ahead and play at a high level. That's why it's so hard predicting the AFC North, because in my opinion, this division is stacked, it's tough, and it's going to be very interesting to see who wins the division and who ends up being a wild card team, especially with the AFC as itself being so stacked. It's going to be very interesting to see who comes out this AFC playoff time. Very interesting. In my opinion, two of these teams can go ahead and win the division. Two of these teams can go ahead and be a wild card spot. In my opinion, the AFC North is currently the toughest division in the NFL. That's my take on it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe. It would be really much appreciated. We're getting so close to 1K subscribers. It'd be really appreciated. Also, watch these two videos right here. If you like this one, I think you guys would like these two too. I hope all of y'all have a nice day, and I will see you guys in the next video.